Greetings everyone, my name is Etterville, and welcome back to my Let's Play of Alvora Tactics. During the last part, I made it to the heart of Alvora and slayed it, thus saving the realm of Limroft from any future Alvora spawn. At least I hope. I hope all the Pillpox drowned when it fell into the water. Otherwise we'll probably have a sequel called Pillpox Tactics or something, or the end of the world of Limroft. But as I said repeatedly in the previous part, this isn't the end of the LP. There are several things I want to cover in these extra parts. I don't know how many extra parts there will be, but I suppose there'll be at least one or two of them. So I'll show off some of the party battles that I skipped over, as well as some of the more randomly procedurally generated areas of the Crub Reefs that I didn't show off, like for example battling the Crubs. As well as purchasing the final upgrades and showing off some of the other stuff. Off-screen, I did some more level grinding, or rather going to the Crub Reefs a few more times, and I got a few more of those big gems. From what I learned in the previous part, if you store special items in the backpack or in a sack, it won't actually get registered or sold off immediately once you finish the mission. That holds true for the empty glass bottles, because otherwise, even if the bottles are filled with beer, they'll be sold off for about 2 gold apiece. But if you keep it in a sack, it won't be sold off. So, off-screen I got 3 huge gems from fighting all of those giant reptiles at the Crub Reefs. And so let's exit out of this place. Each one of those, the gems, is worth 250 gold, so this should be enough to purchase all of the upgrades I want. So yeah, we have at least 1000 gold at this point. So the first thing we want to do is go over to Seville and upgrade our mobility. Giving everyone +1 mobility will be really useful for a lot of the battles, and especially one special thing I have in mind at the end of the LP. It's the most expensive training upgrade, of course, but it's one of the most useful, especially for slower classes. The only other upgrade we can get is XP sharing, but that isn't as important, especially as I unlock the ability to increase my XP multiplier, which I will be taking advantage of soon enough. I don't know why I got shifted over from Thoughtful to Ponderous, but okay. Also, here are the other difficulty settings. Enemy stats get increased by 20% on Expert mode. On Intense mode, enemy stats are increased by 60%. And on Ruin mode, the enemy stats are increased by 80% and there are more enemy abilities. I will be showing this one off in the final part of this LP for a certain challenge. I won't be replaying the entire game on Ruin mode, that's kind of insane on my part. But I will show off a certain battle on Ruin mode. Plus, if I can find whatever the Fable Vault is, wherever it is, I will show that off in the extras. I've heard of it, but I haven't seen it yet. Also, here's the final upgrade. By purchasing it for 200 gold, we can purchase mythril-tier. But as I said in the previous part, if you're playing on normal or hard mode or easier, it isn't really necessary to purchase mythril-tier. Like for example, the mithril vest, well, it does give you +2 defense, but that's also true for the steel hauberk. But it doesn't slow you down by -2. But another nice use of it is the fact is, if you're fighting a lot of mages, this will be helpful because it actually gives you +1 magic resistance. Speaking of which, it's time to solve a lot of things, because the most useful thing I'll have here is the mithril chunks, so I can convert some of my gear into better forms. Like for example, I don't really have a use for this mithril sword, so I'll just turn it back to a mithril chunk. And I'll use this, let me see, I'll put it on this one to make a mithril hammer, which will be really useful for Sorvin. But before that, of course, let's take off the electric trigger, put it back on here. Well, first I have to move it off of it, of course. Put it back on here, and boom, we have a much better hammer. I'm going to try upgrading everyone up to mithril gear, excluding maybe Farron, because she doesn't use that much. And, well, Ophelia also has an equally strong Volt Greatsword, so it's not really necessary. In fact, the ultimate Greatsword you can only get from randomly purchasing it from Lorim or fighting it in a random drop or something. So let's see, we want to give every... Yeah, I think I'll just purchase another one of these mithril ores, because I really want to get some more spears and whatnot. Or better gear. Specifically, I want to get... that's not what I wanted. I wanted to get the mithril vest and give it to... let's see here... I want to give it to, well, Varan, so he gets more defense. Specifically magic defense, because that's the one he needs the most. And now he has a lot more magic defense, which makes him much more durable. I would upgrade everyone to mithril gear, but not in this part because they don't have enough money, unfortunately. But for the final thing I want to do, I will give at least everyone some mithril gear in some regards. Although for people like, well, Morana, it's not really necessary because she has all the dragon pistols. But still, giving +1 defense is always useful in some way. Speaking of which, this should be in here. And before I leave, it's time to sell off all this extra stuff because I won't be using it anytime soon. But I would like to at least get a mithril crossbow so that I can deal close enough to the final damage. Close enough to how much the dragon pistol does. I think that's the strongest firearm, but I'm not sure. Oh, can I undo this? Let's see here, where is that? Nope, I can't unfortunately get into Volskarn form. Oh, speaking of which... Unfortunately, I can't put on 2 of the same glove at the same time, which would make it a lot more powerful, but it's the same like in the previous game. It's a rent OP combinations. It makes sense. Otherwise, you can get some. If you get a lot of ultimate items together, you can result in a very unkillable party. Well, that should be it. I have enough gold left over as well, so Do we have the spear kit? Unfortunately, I didn't really find the spear kit, it seems. So I'm just going to purchase it directly. After all, they all cost about the same amount of money. Really, these crafting kits are more useful in the fact if you already have a mithril piece of gear and you want to convert it to another item. Too bad I never really used the whips, flails, etc. or axes because I put Morana as a crossbow wielding not a warrior mainly because it wasn't a good idea to keep her that close. Yeah, let's go for more attack and I'll come back and fix that. Specifically, I'll try, before I get to the final part of the game I want to show off, I will give everyone mithril armor and mithril gear if I can. And I can due to some grinding techniques I've learned. Alright, so the next thing I'll do is go back to the Overgrown Cavern and see if I can get a certain party battle up and running. So I'll see you right over there. Alright, I'm over here. Here's the party I was talking about. So here's Caver and his party of Ignis Knights. So yeah, some of the adventurer parties have made their own organizational contracts, so this one is being held by the Ignis Knights. And they seem to randomly appear after you cleared the underground or overgrown cavern at least once. And in order to actually get across, we need to actually give them their money or gold. However, if you don't have any gold, you can get this funny response. And if you keep going for it, yeah, so he's going to fight us, him and his party. So it's time to face all of them. It would have been easier if we actually took the initiative, but hey, I just wanted to give them at least a fair shot. As usual, let Sorvin do a gate onslaught, of course. Farron will do regenerate on everyone. Let's see, will I be able to get it in time? He won't die to it, unfortunately. But at least it'll deal enough damage and weaken him. And no, that's a bad idea. I probably should guard everyone up in case of emergency. And instead I'll just use the Burning Wave ability to deal massive damage to him, to Envy. But yeah, all of these enemies are at least Ignis Knights, so you have to be cautious there. They'll all have fire-based abilities. So they will have stuff like Burning Wave, of course. Probably we should be using, what should we... We should probably be using Ward or something so they don't all start attacking us. Or, yeah, start so we don't get all hit by fire elemental abilities. As a demonstration right over here, yeah, all of them have an Ignis Knight as their primary class. So you gotta be cautious when fighting them, but of course you can do stuff like use their counter, which is probably water. After all, water puts out fires. But at my current level, especially as I finish the final boss fight, they're very easy to deal with. But yeah, if he goes to less health than he's supposed to, or gets under a certain health threshold, he just flees the fight and leaves his party members to the slaughter for us. Kind of a cowardly move if you ask me. Especially as they're almost all dead. Also, thank goodness that Ignis Orb attack they only have a basic level 1, as that could have gone really bad. Especially as, for example, if they have the fully upgraded Ignis Orb attack like I do. Then again, they may have it on harder difficulty settings. Speaking of harder difficulty, I think it might be a good time to increase the mode from Veteran to Expert. So that the enemies at least have a better shot. Yeah, I think that may be a good idea because we already seen fighting these enemies at normal difficulty, so let's set it to Expert. Thankfully all these enemies has a lot of gear. So it's time to loot their corpses as always, and I'll sell it off as fodder. Yeah, fire resist is actually going to be really useful for someone like Ophelia who really needs to resist her own explosions, so I think I'll give her the Ash Cape. After all, she's going to really unlock her potential. She's going to use a lot of fire. Well, she's an Ignis Knight after all, like they are. Oh, what was that? That's pretty good avoidance, actually. More magic defense, Ash Cave, okay. It's time to continue on forward. Now, depending on how the procedural generation of the Crub Reefs goes, it'll either be a location that we already went through, or some new locations. Let's try our luck. And on that note as well, I think it might be a good idea to show off the increased XP gain. Off-screen, to increase my experience of gains to make grinding a lot simpler, I'll be setting the experience multiplier to something ridiculous like 999, but for now I'll set it to about double, just for demonstration's sake. But I will have to use this when I go for my final challenge of the game. For that final challenge, I want to get everyone's weapon skills up to at least 8 or 10, each one of them. Not to mention get everyone's HP up to about 50 and MP about 40. You'll see in about 2 parts ahead why. Oh hey, we were lucky. This is a new location that we didn't see on screen. Alright, it's time to fight all those crubs. If we go near them, they will attack us. To be fair, their homeland was eaten by Alvora when it was alive, so they treat us like foreigners and we're dangerous. These are all electrically weak, so... let's do this. Might as well get the first blow. And I already tried, if you walk near them, they will attack you, even though it says they're more pacifistic. That description is a lie. Gonna do Gate Slam over there. Let's poison this one, at least so they're all weak enough so they die in a few turns. Oh, let's see here. I could electrocute it. After all, they do have 20% increased stats, so let's see, what would be best? Let's electrocute it. I think that's what their weakness is. It's just that I didn't really upgrade my electricity stats. That'll be another thing. For Varon, I'm going to try making him so that his elemental abilities, if I can switch to it... it's not really switching. I'll show it off soon enough. I'm going to make it so that his elemental abilities are at least at level 4 or level 5, so he can switch between situations if necessary. And of course, off screen I'm going to level up Farron's bow skill so it isn't so pitiful, being at 0. Which I should have done before in the beginning, near the earlier parts of this LP. Oh, he blocked that. Clever. And of course there are all those enemies in the other places, behind that watery grave. Yeah, and some of these enemies do have a lot of strength, so you gotta be a bit cautious in that regard. But nonetheless, they will fall very easily. If I could only get it close enough, I could easily just deal with it the other way, but... oh well, at least I'll have to deal with... I'll just use... oh, I can't use Frost either. Let's study it and see what its weakness is. Of course, its weakness is lightning, because most of the enemies here are water-based. Should have known. Until I upgrade Farron's bow ability, her damage is always going to be pitiful, unless I decide to make her a sharpshooter. But I won't, because I want to keep her bouncer abilities, which will become more useful when enemies are a bit closer. Now that I think about it, it would have been probably better to make another character a bouncer, because they need to get close enough to actually to apply the bouncer abilities. Where is the final... okay, there it is. So Ophelia can rush forward and deal some decent amount of damage. And especially stun it. So now it's just rushing forward towards the boss until we can deal something to it. Of course, also Ophelia was frosted, so that's going to be a problem. Well, at least Morana can... oh, she can't even reach. That's not really that good. Well, it can only really frost some of us, not all of us. And trying to use fire against Ophelia will never be that effective, thankfully. Yeah, that enemy is going to keep running away as much as possible, so that's going to be a little bit of pain to hit. Thankfully, Ophelia can get close enough to it. And Morana can finish the job. Wonderful. So let's see what gear these crops were holding. As you can see now, all my XP gains have been doubled. There's a coral bow, but I don't really have much use for it, unfortunately. But stuff like the coral shield, that may be useful. But I already have, well, steel shield, so this is slightly better than this one, so unfortunately, I'll just be selling it off. Coral armor was also pretty nice, but the mithril armor outclasses it. At least most of these enemies actually carry gold by this point. That makes grinding so much easier. Especially gold grinding. But luckily, off-screen I got quite lucky with the drops I had with the huge gems, or big gems. That's why I was able to amass so much gold. Alright, onwards. I swear I was here before. Of course I was. Okay, we have another party of adventurers. Let's see what they have to say. Yeah, I don't get it. Why don't we understand what their language is? Oh, okay, so if you actually are able to negotiate, well, then you get the same amount of experience that you do for combat. That never happened before. Well, that's wonderful. Oh, and you can even sell your items right to him right now. Even though we don't understand their language. That's wonderful. Now, if only I could if I could do that before, if I knew that beforehand. Still, that's several major props to this game. After all, in the previous game, or predecessor, it was actually very hard to get people to negotiate with you, and usually would just go into combat. But here, we always have at least some shot of talking with them. If you're strong enough, specifically, I think. Good, I have enough gold to actually purchase the shortcut to this area. Wonderful, this was definitely a new thing for me. And something else I forgot to do, or at least show off in the beginning of the part, it's showing off the new races that were added in this game. In addition to the main 9 races, I think there were a few new ones added, so I'd like to show them off, but I'll do that in the next part. But yeah, from here on out we'll be fighting parties consisting of at least 6 members. 5 or 6 of them. I suppose we'll be meeting with that Ignis Knight once again sometime later. Okay, we have all these chests, but of course they're being guarded by crubs, so... Yeah, these are some of their homelands, so we're going to be attacking them. Sorry. I want to see what's in their chest. The best, of course, is to electrocute them, because that's what their weakness is. Alright, time to initiate battle. Let's see, if this connect... Let's see, that won't deal enough damage, unfortunately. So let's get over here and use Gate Trick in order to eliminate the stronger one. Meanwhile, Morana can take care of this one. Well, at least deal enough damage because it'll die from the poison. So let's move on upwards with the rest of our party. I wonder what controls how much the prayer ability restores. Maybe it's what rank you have it at? That's what I suppose it would be. And now they're moving forward. I'm surprised that a lot of these locations in this game have survived being swallowed by Alvora. They haven't been digested yet. I haven't seen really any acid digestions of Alvoras, so I suppose the Great Serpent has a lot of bizarre alien biology, as it's called in TV tropes. Sorvin can attack from this direction, I presume. Unfortunately, the Gate Swap ability is much weaker compared to the Gate ability, but you can use Gate Swap on either enemies or yourself or other party members, so I suppose it is more flexible in that way. Oh yeah, Tailwind would be very useful here. I probably should be using it a lot more in this game, but I keep forgetting I have it. It's a little bit foolish, but I'll hedge my bets. Meanwhile, Ophelia can start working on those enemies on the right. She can't reach it here, so instead I'll just use Burning Wave, which has a ridiculous range actually in max. Yeah, quite crazy. I mean, it can hit enemies from 8 tiles away, 9 tiles away. That's insane. Okay, and we have enchanters. Okay, let's use Gatecross to at least deal some damage to that one. Okay, he's smart enough and decided to get out of the way. Let me do wide guard so Veron has better shielding. Oh, and he blocked that. Clever. I'll at least try eliminating one of them. This should do the trick. At least none of them have magic counter or counter casting. Meanwhile, yeah. Sorvin can finish the job for this crub. Meanwhile, on the right side, well, Farron and the rest of the crew can finish off this one. Unless it keeps trying to block every single maneuver. Sure, let's do Tailwind again. Yeah, giving everyone +1 move is always helpful in this game. It always tends to be one of the most powerful abilities in any strategy RPG, especially when movement is an important way of progressing through the game, or repositioning yourself. In shorter distances, movement isn't as important, but in longer distances, yeah, it can be really important. Unfortunately, the bone gear doesn't really sell for anything, so I don't really get any of those items. Ooh, a coral hammer. How does it compare to everyone else's? Yeah, not as good, but I will take it anyway for the money. Yeah, a lot of the coral gear seems to be in between the steel gear and mythril-tier in terms of effectiveness and strength. Well, it makes sense, after all, this is the third area of the game, just before the Jace's Golden Palace. Not Jace's, Geral's Golden Palace. Yeah, this game takes place in the realm of Limroth, not in the realm of Errol, just like Voidspire Tactics was, so... I wonder what's happening with the Surtial Alliance in the Kingdom of Jace over there, whether the war, or Civil War, or Cold War against them is going. I'm curious, maybe we'll have a Voidspire Tactics 2, and deal with the fallout that happened in Voidspire Tactics. That would be neat. After all, there were some major world-changing effects. Oh, okay, and now we're going to be fighting the Ignis Knights once again. They have much higher stats, though. I'm doing a quick save over here so that I can first hear the conversation, and then I'll just ambush them. Well, they ambushed me the first time, so... Nah, I'll try facing them the honorable way. That seems better. Oh yeah, speaking of which, for Sorvin... Yeah, I'm going to try upgrading his shield skill up all the way up to 8 or 10. It's going to take quite a while, but with 900% XP growth, it'll be much easier. Now that I think about it, Huge animals, I want to see how the battling ability works. Oh, I was thinking it would be like a summon Zorbat, but that's not how it works. Alright, let's switch back to the alertness tree. I'd rather have +3 for that. Speaking of which, for Mechanist... Yeah, I want to try upgrading crossbow, so I'm going to be swapping over from Bat Handler the Mechanist to Mechanist Bat Handler. Like I said, I want to get everyone up to about 8 or 10 weapon skill. And I'll try distributing my stats between fire, ice, and lightning so I have better flexibility with stuff. especially fire and lightning, because in the final boss battle having delays isn't really recommended. So let's go for lightning. And get everyone up to at least 50 HP. Okay, I guess we're all set then. Alright, I don't care. We're gonna be fighting you. They're a lot stronger this time because I remember to increase stats. As you can see, we have 40, 40, 40, 50, and yeah. Caver is at 80 HP. You can get to that in the game with a lot of grinding, or getting very lucky with volcanic bake meats, but still it's quite crazy. I may do another extra part where I just exploit how the save system works and set someone's HP to 999, and see if the game accepts it. That would be quite funny. As always, just run away here. Morana can at least poison this enemy so he deals much less damage. This is not very that. Sure, let's deal some frost damage over there. Wide guard so everyone takes less damage. Give regeneration to almost everyone. Well, Ophelia can start making mincemeat out of this guy. So we at least took care of one of them, and now two of our characters have regen. Plus Ophelia can take quite a bit of physical damage. Hopefully they don't start using a lot more magical attacks. If they use fire attacks, Ophelia is fine. After all, she is an Ignis Knight with an ash cape. Oh no, Phoenix. That's bad. If Ophelia is oiled up, that doesn't matter as much because it's better for her to be on fire. That's because then she has more attacks, of course. Well, we took care of the Phoenix wielder. That could have gone really bad because he could then revive his party members. Once again, just use Gain Onslaught when standing really far away from everything else. I think I should use Ward on everyone. That might be a safe idea. And use Bolt on all these party members at once. Meanwhile, Willis can... can I use Bide? I guess I can. Let's try it then. See if it works. Meanwhile, Ophelia can get over here and start attacking. After all, we do delay the turns if we do that way. Yeah, of course, counterattacks are always pretty nice. Oh, counter, that's awesome. And we just killed him off in this run. I totally expected him to just retreat, but... okay then. Yeah, I totally expected... what's his name? Well, whatever his name was to actually just teleport out after losing. Or just before losing, but no, we didn't. Ooh, Laser Saber, that's what I was talking about. One of the stuff you can upgrade. That's really going to be useful, especially for Affiliate. Let me check though what its range is. Oh, I would like to use it, but its range is a bit lower, so... I'll still keep it in my inventory just in case. The extra reach granted by the Great Swords is a bit too much for me to trade off for, so... Fireband would be nice, but Ophelia also needs to rely on her brute strength, so... oh, there's the Ignis Knight. Bullscarn Mail. This is more like a mage-type character's mail, so... I'll be selling it off because I really want more physical defense at this point. Actually... you know what, I think I'll replace Veron's mail with the Volscarn mail so he deals more damage. But of course I need to get to a forge before I can do that. And always remember to actually select each of the items so I know what they do. I keep forgetting to do that in the previous parts. Still, the music of this level is pretty nice. It kind of reminds me of the Wine Marsh from Voidspire Tactics. Well, I guess that's the end of the Ignis Knights, unless they decide to show up at the end of the next area. And I wonder if there's a boss encounter at the Crub Reefs. There may be, but I may have already faced it with the combination of that giant creature, which I like to check what the name is. In fact, let me do it right now. Yeah, the Amnitorsk. This giant shell reptile, that's what I meant by where I got the big gems. And last but not least, before I end off this part, I would like to purchase another dragon pistol, but I'll hold off from it. I already have enough. It's time to get the final shortcut. That leads directly to the Crub Reefs, and that's the last shortcut we'll get in the game. Unfortunately, we don't get a shortcut to the Golden Palace or the Vault if it exists. And just like I promised, I think it might be a better idea to give, as I said, it might be better to give Faron the Volskarn mail because he's a mage after all. Not to mention it actually has 3 slots instead of the default 2, which makes it even better. I suppose the ultimate gear of this game would actually have 3 slots as well, which would make it even more broken, or even more ultimate. And I just realized throughout all this part that there's a loot all button. From all the 14 previous parts of playing, I didn't realize there was a loot all button. That had made several parts of this game so much easier. That's my fault, of course, for not paying attention. Speaking of Volskarn, do I have any more excess? Unfortunately, I don't. This will give me plus 50% water resistance, so sure, let's put it on, but what I would really like to have eventually is more defense. I basically like more Volskarns, so okay, let me trade in some things. Who we needed the most? Willis, he needs the most blocking after all, so let's give it to him. So now he doesn't take the void penalty as much, plus he gets +1 to his magic resistance. And now, using that, I'll dissolve all this excess gear. I don't really want water resistance at this point. The fireband I'll sell off as well because I don't really find a good enough use for it. The burn trigger I'll put in the laser saber. In fact, let me do it now so I don't forget. And now this time to sell off the rest of the gear because I don't really have as much use for it. Let's see. Not to mention, I wish there was a way you can actually just open up the bag without having the prompt being to sell it, so that I can easily dissolve all the items. Or if there was a bulk sell button in this game. It's a quality of life improvement. But that's really more to the fact that I hoard so many items when I go through the stages. Though I do appreciate how now you have a much better chance of negotiating with those parties and you can sell off stuff to them. It's just like a portable shop, but better for selling more than so for buying. Let's see here. think it might be the best idea to purchase at least... Oh, that's the wrong button. Purchase one more mithril vest. And give it to Ophelia because, well, she won't take the penalty. Plus, she'll have better magic defense. Let's see, anyone else? I want to hold off until I can find another Volskarn mail for... Yeah, I want to hold off until I get a Volskarn mail for Farron, so I won't purchase it for her, but I think I'll purchase one more mithril vest specifically for Sorvin. He'll make good use for it because he's a frontline fighter. So the only one left who would probably benefit from mithril vest would be, of course, Morana, but I want to get some more mithril so I can actually increase her defense. After all, the string treads are nice, but she isn't a pure... She uses ranged weapons in the first place, so she isn't going to be blocking stuff like Willis will be, or maybe Ophelia. So yeah, purely more physical defense would be better, more beneficial for her. Speaking of which... I'll just give that extra defense to her right about now. And once I get enough money, I'll purchase the mithril vest so she'll get better defenses. Alright then, I guess this is a good time to call it quits for this first extras video. So in this part, I purchased all of the upgrades potentially available in the town, specifically from the training arena, Blacksmith, as well as Lorim's house. And I fought the Ignis Knights twice and showed off more of the areas available at the Crub Reefs. So here are all my stats, of course. In the next part, well, in between this and the next part, I'll do some more off-screen grinding so that everyone at least has mythril-tier gear, as well as some better base stats. And I'll explore more of the Crub Reefs and see if I can figure out where the mythical vault is, if it actually exists in Alvora. Well then, thanks for watching, and have a nice day. Toodles!